And I became a prostitute. Written by Saima Mehbob. 7 years back, when I was hardly 12, my father departed, leaving us stranded in this world. Unfortunately, I was the eldest among his 6 siblings. The responsibility of my family befell my shoulders after my father had deceased. Now I had to be breadwinner of the family. Now you are our sole support, my son. Before your siblings starve to death, look for some job as per your age. Through such words, mother reminded me every day of my liabilities towards the household. Like every morning, today again, in search of job, I reached Liaquat Bazar. I had visited this place quite often with my father and seen number of children working there. I was roaming about in anticipation of some work when I spotted 2 of the men staring hard at me. They beckoned me to themselves and said, "We have been observing you since morning. You are shuttling here and there looking for a job, right?" I nodded my head in affirmation. "Take it as done," they exclaimed. The 2 men seemed angels to me. They took me along to hotel and said, "The manager of this hotel is our friend and he is in dire need of a sweeper." They introduced me to the manager and said, "He will work because he appears to be needy and people like him because he is not handsome but beautiful." For a moment, I wondered how beauty could be of any concern to this task. Then I deemed that good looks might leave an impression of neatness and cleanliness on the visitors. Therefore, they have mentioned so. They called someone on the phone and told me that he would examine my capabilities. Handing over a broom and cloth duster, they ushered me to a room where there was a bed with worn out bedsheet and a pillow kept in an untidy manner. The whole scene was trying to communicate to me what I was utterly unaware of. I ceased pondering over bed and mused how to please with them my effort. I remember that mother used to clean the room, beginning from its corners. As I was heading towards the corner, the baloch, who was called up on the phone, grabbed me by my wrist while the wrist just left. He yanked me and said, "By God, your hands are so fragile. Don't use them to sweep. You are not handsome. You are damned pretty. Your cheeks are like those of a damsel." I was bewildered, but he kept praising my looks endlessly. Finally, he dragged me to the bed, muffled my voice, and raped me. It was that very day when it dawned me. And it's not only women but men also are the victim of rape. I screamed and cried, but throwing 5,000 rupees at me, they warned me to keep my mouth shut or else they would have killed me. Leaving the hotel, I settled in some corner and continued to cry for a couple of hours, but no one inquired of me the reason for that. I found myself forsaken among the masses. On my way back home, I remained worried how to face my mother. The moment I reached Mother asked me abruptly. Found a job, son? Yes, Mom. I could hardly utter and forked out to her one instead of 5,000 less. She should become skeptical of such an amount earned by a 12-year-old in a single day. I was apprehensive about 1,000 even, but she asked me nothing, rather paid gratitude to Allah and bade my sister, serve your brother some tea. He must be tired. There was no slumber to come all night long. I kept approaching myself why I could not save my being. But then I realized, how could I? When I had no linking of what was happening, I had a vivid idea what rape was. Because our TV dramas did raise such issues regarding women, but it was never ever that a boy had been shown being raped, nor did my mother ever advise me to be cautious when I went out, or to be careful not to talk to a stranger, or to return home early as she did to my sisters. Though the dramas on TV and through the talks of my parents and people, and I always gathered that danger lurked not for boys but for girls alone. Therefore, I remained too terrified to go to bazaar side. Every day I left home to hide in some corner, and when I returned, I used to fish out a note from that immoral money to satisfy my mother. But one day I had to go. As for how long I could stay back, I chose not to go where I met those men. But unfortunately, they caught my sight and started chasing me while I was unaware. In search of job, I searched a desolate part of that market where I felt a touch on my shoulder. I turned back to see, to my horror, the same obnoxious man. They shoved me into the car and drove me to the same hotel and took me to the same room. This is how I turned into a prostitute. Yes, a prostitute, a male prostitute. Just like rape, I was not ignorant of the profession of prostitution. But what I did not know was that men too could be prostitute. How could I? When I had never heard about it, there was a lot to hear about women prostitute, about people's condemnation for them, and even about their compassion for them, that they are compelled to adopt this profession out of helplessness. It is not only through the conversation and discourses around, but through TV shows and films, such activities are shown to be happening. On the one hand, there are channels that criticize them, and on the other, there are those that sympathize with them. On the contrary, male prostitutes are neither condemned nor commiserated. That's why I feel being left in the lurch. Generically, there are binaries for male and female profession in every language. For instance, master, mistress, actor, actress, etc. Since my childhood, I have been coming across separate male and female titles in the same profession. But in the occupation of prostitution, I have never run into any male titles. Whereas prostitute can be both man and a woman, I suggest that prostitute should be the word for such a woman and prostitute for such a man. As aforementioned that I am not handsome but pretty, so I have successfully earned customers as compared to my co-workers. This explains that for love-making men, here desire women, not men. But since there is no Hira Mandi, here they satiate their sexual appetite with boys. It's over 7 years since I have been in this profession. I'm sordidly stuck in this swamp. My mother is never tired of luring me before my neighbors. By Allah's grace, my son earns so well. Every time I perfume my body to get ready for my customers, I feel desperately disgusted. I have no other way to pull myself out of this marsh but to kill myself.